Welcome, GTS retail partners, to our weekly retailer to publisher webinar series, this week featuring Paizo Publishing and Kobold Press. I'm Scott Bohr, your category manager for gaming specialty products, which includes role-playing games, miniatures games, and gaming accessories such as dice, dice towers, and some of the other fun bits and bobs that go along with games of all type to make them more enjoyable. This week, as I said, joining us are Paizo Publishing and Kobold Press. We've got Cosmo Eisele joining us from Paizo Publishing, and from Kobold Press, Alexander Stangroom and Kim Weller. We're really excited to hear those people talk about some of the upcoming products they have, as well as new products and organized play opportunities. So stay tuned for that. Before you go on to the webinar, let's go ahead and ask you to like and subscribe to the GTS webinar channel. It's a great way to get information as it comes out about new products, new publishing partners at GTS, and some of the upcoming events that they've got going on. It also helps you avoid some of the entanglement with YouTube's algorithms and such. It helps you get all the information that you need. So without further ado, I will go ahead and hand the virtual microphone over to Cosmo Eisele with Paizo Publishing. Cosmo, take it away.
Welcome everyone to the Paizo Kobold Press Spring presentation. Thank you very much for your time. I have a great presentation here to show you some of the cool stuff that we have coming up in the short term. So without further ado, let's get this show on the road. All righty. And to start things off, we have our first hardcover of the year, in which the dead are rising. That's right. Coming in March, we have Pathfinder Book of the Dead. Book of the Dead is a book which tells you everything you need to know about the undead menace. We also detail the country of Geb in our world of Galarian, an entire country that is run by the undead. And in addition to that, in addition to the lore settings, we've got new tools, new haunts. You've got information for fighting against undead hordes, but also you've got options for the players themselves to control or even become undead creatures. Everything you need to know about the undead comes in the Book of the Dead in March. And as usual, this releases in the standard hardcover format, as well as a special edition format and a softcover pocket edition format, all at the same time. This book represents kind of a departure from the way we did things in first edition Pathfinder. In first edition Pathfinder, we went up to bestiary, I want to say bestiary 6. So far in Pathfinder 2nd edition, we've done bestiary 1 and bestiary 2. And going forward, we're not actually planning on doing any more bestiaries. Instead, we are going to do deep dives into one particular type of monster, and starting with undead monsters in Book of the Dead coming in March. And starting back in January, the quest for the frozen flame. For generations, the broken tusk following has roamed their small patch of the realm of the mammoth lords in relative peace. This is a 3-volume adventure path that started in January and continues in February with Lost Mammoth Valley, and then concludes in March with Burning Tundra. And this is kind of a different style of adventure path than we've done previously. This is an adventure path that takes place in the frozen north. So think Clan of the Cave Bear, but more like Clan of the Dire Cave Bear. And then coming in April, we have Outlaws of Alkenstar. Sometimes a bullet is best. A gang of outlaws, each with their own grudge against the same vile mogul, must join forces in order to get their revenge. This adventure path takes place in the clockwork city of Alkenstar, where most business is as orderly as the hands on a pocket watch. But these rugged anti-heroes will have to go against the grain if they are to get the vengeance that they seek. Alkenstar is an area in the world of Galarian that, as you can see, is a kind of a clockwork / kind of steampunk almost style of adventure or style of place. This is a setting which has been heavily requested by the Pathfinder fans since it was first talked about way back in first edition. They've been wanting us to do an adventure path here forever, and now we can. So you can put your Guns and Gears hardcover to use with the Outlaws of Alkenstar starting in April with Punks in a Powder Keg. Once again, this is a 3-volume adventure path that will go through June of 2022. Also in April, we have a collected adventure path, Abomination Vaults. This is releasing in both a standard and a special edition. And this is a super popular out-of-print adventure path. The Abomination Vaults adventure path came out last year and almost immediately sold out. This is a mega dungeon adventure that takes PCs from level 1 to level 12, and it's actually based in the city of Otari, which coincidentally, or rather not very coincidentally, is the same city in which the adventure in the Pathfinder beginner blocks takes place. So, so a starting role player, someone who's never role played before, can get their Pathfinder beginner box, learn how to play Pathfinder, and then immediately take those same characters right into a mega dungeon and continue with their Pathfinder career. Otari is also not far from the city of Absalom, which was the focus of the December book City of Lost Omens. And in May, long unlive the Queen. Over 10 years ago, the city of Korvosa suffered under the rule of tyrannical Queen Iliosa, which was the Curse of the Crimson Throne adventure path from first edition. It's a legendary adventure path, and now 10 years past that adventure, we have Shadows at Sundown. This is both an adventure and an associated flipmat coming out in May. This is an adventure for 11th level characters, so a nice high level standalone adventure. And Korvosa is one of the most popular cities in the Pathfinder setting. On the Lost Omens side, coming in April, we have The Knights of Last Wall. This is a source book that contains information on the Knights of Last Wall organization, which keeps which keeps the forces of the Whispering Tyrant at bay. So this book will be great for players who want to play as one of these Knights of Last Wall, or this also is a great book for players who want to just new rules content, including equipment, magic items, spells, and support for players who want to play a Knight of Last Wall or just want to play a knight in general in their campaign. You've got new secrets and game rules connected to one of the Pathfinder world's most important factions. And this comes out in April. And coming in March, we have Pathfinder Goblin Firework Fight. This is a fast-paced party game, something that we have not done something like this before. This is a brand new style of game for us, and this is the perfect game to pull out for when you're waiting for that last person to show up and you want to pass some time by playing as goblins. And in this game, the city of Sandpoint is having one of their human celebrations. And we goblins know that the only thing good about these human celebrations is that they bring in fireworks. And since they're fireworks, that means they belong to us because we're goblins. We be goblins and we need to go in there and get them fireworks. And when you're sneaking into the town, you can ransack the town to get fireworks, but also your buddy next to you, the goblin next to you, he may have some fireworks too, so might as well take some from him too. This is a fast-paced, laugh-inducing party game where you are a goblin and you are going against the challenges in the city as well as your fellow goblins. It's a quick play, easy setup, and a super fun little game. And that comes out in March. Also in March, we have some of our great accessories with the Pathfinder Alchemy deck. These are quick reference item cards that keep important rules right at hand, and also the whole idea of item cards is kind of makes role-playing a little more tactile. You have a physical thing that represents your item in game, so if you use it or hand it away, it actually moves around. This follows up the Pathfinder Weapons and Armor deck from November of 19, as well as the Pathfinder Adventure Gear deck that came out in February of 2020, which are two best-selling Pathfinder player accessories. Speaking of player accessories, we also have the Pathfinder Guns deck and the Pathfinder Gears deck, which come out in March. Between these two decks, they contain all the firearms and clockwork items from the Pathfinder Guns and Gears book, which immediately sold out and is back in reprint. The Guns deck has everything from black powder weapons like the musket to more unusual weapons like the mace multi-pistol and the gun sword. The Gears deck has some off-the-wall things like a backpack catapult or unexpected ways of staying ahead of your enemies with things like the gadget skates. And these, once again, these item cards keep your rules immediately at hand and provide a tactile reference for an item in your inventory. And then in April, we have the Pathfinder deck of endless NPCs. Now, this thing is super cool. Basically, with these cards, you randomly draw 4 cards, and with those 4 cards, they combine together to provide a brand new character with a role, with a goal. They've got traits, they've got a secret agenda, and you've got some specific details available as well. And you can quickly just generate literally over 100 million different possible NPCs using this one deck. This follows the same format as the Starfinder deck of many worlds, which has been a very popular thing. And this deck could be used obviously by GMs to just throw together an NPC to have a true, deep, well-rounded person for your players to interact with just on the fly. But you can also just use this to be like, I need some inspiration to make a new character. Deal out 4 cards, figure it out, and be like, hey, I like that. Or, I can go off on that idea. Deck of Endless NPCs comes out in April. And in February, March, and April, we have Flipmats and Flipmat Classics. Flipmats are amongst our best-selling accessories. We have a brand new, in February, a brand new size called the Enormous size. We have starting with the Enormous Basic. And this is even larger than our bigger Flipmats, and this map measures 30 inches by 46 inches unfolded and is the largest basic flip mat yet, but still folds down to a really convenient 8x10, can just drop into a backpack. And just like all of our flip mats, you can draw on these with wet erase, with dry erase. You can even draw on it with a Sharpie, and then when you're done with the night, you can go back over that Sharpie with a wet erase or dry erase marker, and the Sharpie comes off. They are super useful and handy for any game that uses 1-inch squares. And along with our flip mats, we also have our flip tiles that have the same type of coating, but these are 6x6 map tiles, and they come in packs of 24 with the expansion sets or 48 in the starter packs. And the starter packs have 48 cards along with a nice deep box that has room to put expansion sets in, and the expansion sets all will go with a previously released starter pack. The starter packs are, of course, all evergreen. The expansion sets are more or less one and done. And then coming in May, we have kind of a different take on the expansion sets. We have Flip Tiles Campsites, and this is an expansion set that actually goes with any starter pack because it is campsites that can go in any of various different regions. And the cool thing, the way you can use these flip tiles is you can put them together to make a map themselves, or if you're using a flip mat, you can lay these down on the flip mat to make a cool focus area that you don't have to draw. But let's take a look over at what's going on in Starfinder, shall we? And of course, the big event in Starfinder coming this year. The Drift Crisis is coming. Starting in May with Starfinder RPG Drift Crisis. This is a hardcover rulebook and a setting guide that details a massive galaxy-wide event that's going to introduce a vast array of new conflicts, new opportunities, new stories. This is, once again, kind of a departure from previous Starfinder RPG releases in that this is an event that is happening throughout the entire world of Starfinder and has effects on this year's and upcoming releases for years to come. This is a new change to the entire setting of the Starfinder RPG. And along with the hardcover, in a catastrophic instant, travel through the faster-than-life drift realm failed, with travelers vanishing in mid-flight, communications scrambling, and the drift's progenitor god Triune falls mysteriously silent. And then we also have in June the Alien Archive Pocket Edition. This continues our bringing the pocket editions to all of our Starfinder hardcovers released so far. As far as the Starfinder Adventure Path goes, in March through April, we have the second half of the Horizons of the Vast Adventure Path. This is a sandbox-style adventure path, very similar to and inspired by the legendary Kingmaker campaign adventure path from Pathfinder, and that concludes in April. And then in June, the Starfinder Adventure Path Drift Crashers begins. And in this adventure path, you are on the starship Maratha, and you and your crew find yourselves stranded in hell as the drift crisis begins. Your starship now boosts a strange new artifact and the power to travel anywhere in space and time. But soon you're literally running from the devil, you're crashing through parallel universes, you're coming face to face with strange versions of yourself, and finally reaching an apocalyptic future where everyone you know is dead. And will you ever find your way home again? Perfect Storm is a Starfinder adventure for first level characters, which launches the 3-volume Drift Crashers Adventure Path in June. Let's take a look at some Starfinder accessories. We have the Alien Archive 1 and 2, and then the Alien Archive 3 and 4 in March of the battle cards, which are based on the same style as the Pathfinder Bestiary battle cards. And these cards are very cool. They have our awesome art on one side, and then on the other side, all of the systems you need to run that creature. So this once again provides a very tactile and engrossing aspect to your game. We can actually see this is what you're looking at right now. And then also in March, we have the Spell Cards Supplemental. This follows up the Starfinder spell cards that came out in December. And these are using the same basic format as the Starfinder or the Pathfinder spell cards that were released last year. And of course, Starfinder also has their own Flipmats. We have Flipmat Casino coming out in March, as well as Flipmat Water World. And now that I've blathered on about Starfinder Pathfinder for quite long enough, excuse me while I switch gears, and let's take a look at what Kobold has for us in the coming months.
I made it, Cosmo.
And I made it as well. There was a bit
hey!
go.
We both made
Never
it
mind.
in, so I can run it now that I have arrived.
Do you have you? Well, then I will let you share screen.
Thanks. After we were, struggling to get in, we love that. It's all right though.
So, hello everybody. I'm Alexander Stangroom. I'm the Director of Operations for Kobold Press. Joining me is Kim Wheeler, who's our newest Kobold into the Warrens, who's our sales manager, who will be taking you through what we've got coming up. I don't think Wolfgang managed to make it in. I think Microsoft Teams beat him. He's there at the window like some sort of forlorn Victorian orphan, staring in but unable to join us. So I will hand you over to Kim now and tell you what we've got coming.
So my hope is that everyone can see my presentation, and if you can't, please let me know. Because while I fiddled around with Teams a little bit, I'm not fully familiar, so hopefully everything works out. So we are Kobold Press, as you are aware. This is a list of the things that we are coming out in the next couple months. So as you know, we have our typical evergreens. We have the Tome of Beasts, the Creature Codex, and the Tome of Beasts 2 out already. They are all in hardcover, and each of them have over a 400-page count, which is really nice. Thick monsters for different adventures. There are currently 1,200 monsters between the three of these books that you can drop into your 5e adventures. It's very exciting. They're all compatible with all of the 5th edition rules and whatnot. So here's a couple pieces of art from the books. My favorite is this snake over here with 100 mage hands. We also offer them in the pocket editions, which, as we know, are just a smaller version of the exact same book. So they are all half the price of the hardcover, and they are page for page the hardcover book. So you are still going to see the same fun monsters in the books. You're going to see that if you reference your hardcover and someone in your party has the soft cover, they'll just open it up and it'll be exact. There'll be no confusions. All of the PDFs and things along those match, which is fantastic. So here's just another couple blurbs of art here. There's a fantastic pirate ship mimic. We love him very much. So continuing on with our evergreens, we do have our Deep Magic spell book. So there are 700 spells in the hardcover and the soft cover. It does come in the pocket edition, as we love. So 700 spells, brand new, different spells that they can add into their 5th edition games. If you're unfamiliar with us, this has been around for a little while. So they are definitely familiar with that, but it's not just spells. It also has some subclasses, as well as new domains and backgrounds and familiars and a whole bunch of new different ways to incorporate magic into their games. On the left here, you see one of the new patrons that we've created, the Genie Lord. And on the right is a Kobold sorcerer who is casting Frozen Razors, which is fantastic. These are some just snippets of the new things that we add to the 5th edition game. Again, it comes in that hardcover, comes in that soft cover. They match up perfectly. So if you're looking for something that is in one book, it's always going to be on the exact same page in the other book. Continuing on with what's going to be our Evergreens is the Vault of Magic book. We just came out with this hardcover last year. There are 256 pages of new and fantastic items that you can add into your 5th edition games as rewards or things that they can have. There, it is fully includes tables in the back that also put all of the items together, not just what has come in this book. There's unique items that have been developed by a whole bunch of special guests, people like Gail Simone and Deborah Ann Wall, and also Luke Gygax. There's a couple, just a little blurbs of art here. There's an Okar figurine, a slate light ring, and a thing of serpent scale armor, which I thought was pretty cool. You turn into a snake when you wear this, which I thought was pretty neat. So there's just a whole plethora of new and fantastic pieces of items and things, that armor and whatnot, to add into your 5th edition games. So we'll hop right into our new releases. Earlier this year, we released the Warlock Grimoire 3. If you're familiar with our Warlock Grimoires, it's just a taking all of our warlocks and putting them into a hardcover book at the end of the year. So this hardcover is $24.99. There's 292 pages in this, as which is issues 20 to 28 of our warlocks, but it also includes something that was not included in our original Warlock push, which is Warlock Guides to the Plane. So you are getting a little bit more content than the people who get it early. Also, there in here are, it's not just adventures, it's ways to build your games, sometimes adventures, new monsters, player characters. On the left here is the Unseen Queen from one of our adventures, and on the right is an owlbear, which you would encounter in the Scarlet Citadel. So there are some little add-ons for what would normally be some of our other books, which is great. So it's different new locations and lore, new spells, monsters, character options, and it's all 5th edition compatible. So now, something that has not come out yet. This is our Warlock Lairs Into the Wilds. Now, this is a brand new set of adventures that we are bringing out right now for everyone to be able to have. So this hardcover is compiled of 14 of what we had lairs that have only ever been developed digitally. So we have 70 lairs that were created for our Patreon followers, and we've decided to pull 14 of those and put them into a book, but also add 4 new and exciting things into this set of adventures. Now, it's not only new content for people, but it's content specific. So if you see the title there is Warlock Lairs Into the Wilds. So Into the Wilds is only in the wilderness. So we're hoping that if, as well as this goes, this will be the first in a new line of pulling different lairs and creating new lairs for specific places around, whether it's the wilderness or the beach or any of those things, which is absolutely fantastic. So the adventures in this book range from level 1 to 10. Here you see on the left is the bad guy from a 7th level adventure, Madeira, and then on the right is the Bramble King, which is a 2nd level adventure, and it goes all the way up to 10th level, which is fantastic. This book, as well as the prior, are black and white only. It is one of those things that since we release them in that PDF form, they come through right into the black and white. It kind of gives it a little old school luster. We also have specific maps made for us by Dyson Logos. Here is the map from the Pride of the Mushroom Queen, which is really cool. What I really enjoy about this book is that this Pride of the Mushroom Queen, this map, and each adventure that has a map, but this map specifically ties back into that Wrath of the Bramble King. So this adventure for 6 level characters, you can take those same characters, those same players, and swap them in. They played the level 2 adventure. They can now play the level 6 adventure. So it's really cool that a lot of them tie into each other, and it's very unique when it comes to the maps. They are made by Dyson Logos, and they're made specifically for us. So you won't find these maps anywhere else. So, all right, moving on. So you are all familiar with our Kobold guides. So we are releasing the Kobold Guide to World Building Volume 2. We know that the World Building Volume 1 was a big seller. We loved it. Everybody, I mean, personally, I loved it, and everybody talks. That's probably one of our best sellers at conventions, so it's pretty fantastic. So inside this book, it is a soft cover, and there are 112 pages here that will be released in April. You will find a plethora of names that you've maybe have heard before, maybe haven't heard before. You see Gail Simone here. You see Keith Baker, the creator of the Eberron campaign setting. You see the Dungeon Dudes halfway down here in the middle. James Sutter. So you guys this is exclusive for you guys to see the in the sales deck here to see the table of contents, because nobody's seen this. But as you can see through here, you see there's a whole plethora of different people, and it's all edited by John Joseph Adams. One of our big names is Veronica Roth. I would assume you are familiar with her, but if you are not, she was the author of the Divergent series, which sold 32 million copies worldwide, which is amazing. We know that it got turned into a movie. She's a #1 New York Times bestseller. So we're hoping that with the addition of Veronica Roth, this will pull in new and different exciting customers who will be interested in going, oh, who is that? Oh, I know that name. And then it will hook them in to be able to build their own worlds and then kind of continue to purchase Kobold Press stuff in the future. We also have Ken Liu, who is the creator of the silk punk genre, which I thought was pretty neat. He is the only, his book, The Paper Menagerie, was the first work of fiction to win Nebula, Hugo, and World Fantasy Awards, which is pretty awesome. So he's also very well known in the fantasy book. He's a well-known fantasy author, and he will hopefully draw us in some new and refreshed faces, as well as keeping the old in with us as well. So for the last one, we have the Vault of Magic Pocket Edition. As we know that the pocket editions are just smaller versions of the big versions, right? They are soft cover, page for page, and it is just exactly the same, but just in a smaller travel size, lighter size, and this will be released in May. Again, I'll give you a little art previews here. There's a couple of really awesome armor and a ring, and this on the right is something that was created by Deborah Ann Wall, our guest designer. She created the Matryoshka tiles here on the right. So there's a whole list of fantastic guest designers in this book as well. So whether it'll give them both options to buy the smaller version or the larger version. So that being said, that's the end of my presentation. Do we have any questions for me?
I have to say it's an excellent lineup of products coming up from Kobold. They are excellent resources for stores looking to get into expanding on the 5th edition. There's a huge wave of new people coming into the game and using 5th edition as a base. So this is a really easy add-on. It's a transition to a different world or a different way of playing 5th edition. So some really excellent resources.
Yeah, we love what I loved about it when I started working for the company was that if I'm bored of my old stuff, I know that I'm going to start looking for new things. And there's so much stuff to add on.
Yeah. On the layers series, you're looking at the Warlock layers. The first one is the Wilderness. Do you have an idea how far down the line you expect before you have the second or the next book in the series out?
So we've been looking at, I mean, this is very much a sort of a test case on
Yes.
how this works. We have got the next 2 planned out so that if initial sales are good, then we'll press ahead with it. So because it is predominantly a compilation of not printed before material, the actual additional material the turnover isn't as long. So we've got one penciled out for potentially next year as well in a similar time slot. But again, it's just a case of see how this opening line does.
Yeah, and if it works out, we continue to move. It's great because it just adds a whole bunch of new drop-in adventures for everyone. So that's what I love about it.
Yep. And the Kobold guides have been a big hit with a lot of, not only in the area of role-playing games, but also authors and creative writers looking for resources to help them as well. Are there future books in that series that we can expect to see?
Oh yes, the Kobold Guide series is actually one of the things that we continue to support, primarily because we're one of the only companies that actually produces this type of material. And we've got an enormous number of contacts and friends within the industry that we can bring in to provide essays on a number of different subjects. Kobold Guide to World Building, as Kim said, is one of our bestsellers because it appeals to so many different people. But I think that with our new editor on this, John Joseph Adams, who's a Hugo Award winner himself, by getting Veronica Roth and Ken Lewin, I think we're going to see substantial sales from their fan base who potentially don't do tabletop role-playing, but are interested in picking up that book purely because their favourite author has released an essay in it. I know myself, I've picked up anthologies because Terry Pratchett had written a short story in it. Mm-hmm. And I read the rest of them, but that's the reason that I bought that book.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, any additional questions from our viewers? Please feel free to go ahead and pop those into the chat if you have questions for either of our presenters so far. And then I think I have a couple of questions for Cosmo as well, so I may bounce back to that here real quick while we wait.
All righty.
I have one for Cosmo, if I could chime in. It's
yeah,
just
go
easier
for
to
it.
talk. So on the cards, I love the idea of like having that textile kind of feature of passing a card around for items and such. Is there in any of those products, is there going to be something like something for real generic things like potions, right? Like health potions or like something players would use commonly or often, and maybe multiple copies of that so that they can hand out like, hey, you have 2 new potions, here's 2 copies of that card. Is there something like that in those products that you revealed?
We do. Those, we had a whole bunch of those in the kind of first edition item cards line, and many of those are still available, and those don't have any rule system on them. I'm bringing up the Gears deck will have items along those lines. There's lots of potions and alchemical items in the Gears deck. And as far as multiples go, I'm not sure if we have. I don't think we have multiples. I forgot to introduce him earlier. I have Alex Speidel here, who's who runs our organized play. And Alex, do you know offhand if there's multiples?
Actually, I do, and I was going to cut in if you were going to let me, because I have somewhere around here, I have like our alchemy and magic potions deck. I do know that some of the most basic potions, like the basic healing ones, there are 4 or 5 of them in the deck, and they've got different art on them as well. So I think some of the basic ones do, not all of them do, but the kind of stuff that you're going to be handing out, kind of like candy to your players, do have a few different ones.
Okay,
Excellent.
thank you. Yeah, because I know as like a game master for RPGs in general, I'm always looking for stuff like that because I do love to pass cards to players for things like that, and trying
Absolutely.
to find enough of like potions without having to print my own, which is super annoying and stupid. I hate it. So thank you.
Mhm.
Excellent. And then another question there related to that is, does the Infinite NPC deck have stat blocks?
Well, and once again, Alice can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that they do not have stat blocks per se. They have, and what we don't have the infinite NPCs the in house yet, but I do have the deck of many worlds
Ooh,
on
that's
which it was
rare.
based. And you see the way this works is, let me get this other one open here. So you would deal out something like this on one side, and then you'd lay out cards along with it on these other sides, and they kind of go together to create one thing. And then you don't have stats, but what you have are traits, and you have seeds rather than full-on rules content. And one fun anecdote for the deck of many NPCs, I'm a salesman. I don't get to do much editorial content, but we actually had a little internal chat thing for the making of this deck that was run by Jason Bowman, in which he queried the staff for, give me traits for NPCs, give me plot hooks for NPCs, give me ulterior motives, and we just brainstorm things in these chat rooms, and it was super fun, and like some very cool dark stuff, some weird wacky stuff. Not gonna say which side I was on, but yeah, and we do. So yeah, not full on stat blocks, but something that you can use if you need to build a stat block. You have all the stuff laid out to all the traits you need to inform a stat block.
Excellent. And then going back over to Kobold Press, with Deep Magic, in addition to the book, you also have the spell cards that are also an excellent accessory, very similar to some of the products that have been released by Paizo to also support those. Are there plans to expand the card program for Kobold Press and get some monsters and items and some of these
it's
features
something
as
we've
well?
discussed. We do have a licensed partner, Inkwell Ideas, who handle Deck of Beasts. So they've currently got the license to produce monster cards based on Tome of Beasts, Creature Codex, Tome of Beasts 2. There is talk about potentially bringing it in-house for Tome of Beasts 3. But even if that's not the case, they'd still be available through Inkwell Ideas if we renew the license on that. We'd hoped that the spell cards had done a little bit better. There's always a very vocal community who like cards, but because of the pandemic and because everybody's been playing on computer, the actual sales of at the table products haven't necessarily been what we'd have liked. We are considering Vault of Magic as a card line, but again, that's one of the things that's being talked about. But that wouldn't be for this release year. It would be next at the earliest on that.
Excellent. Okay. Well, as long as it's in the thought process, that'll have to satisfy for now, I suppose. But hopefully, we'll get more content along that line as well. Cosmo, did you want to transition to to Alex to talk a little bit about. Oh wait, actually, before we go to Alex, I have one more question for you about the monster. You have the Book of the Dead, and then you mentioned when you were talking about that part of the plan is to put monsters in kind of like groups, categories, or in this case, the undead. And then I would imagine you'd have something like dragon kind and goblin kind and that kind of thing. But how many of those books are planned out, and when do you see some of that developing into releases as well?
So this is going to be through this year, and I have to caveat this. Being a salesman, they only tell me what they want me to be able to share. So they don't tell me a lot of their really far out plans, because otherwise I would just blab it to everybody. But that being said, going from the way we did the first edition, we would usually do about one monster book every year or two. And so going forward, you can probably expect to see a monster book of some type next year. And it will likely be something similar in form to this. But that's me theorizing based on what I've been told so far.
Okay.
So that's about the best answer that I can give you.
That's Cosmo talking out of class.
Exactly. And
Yes.
that's exactly why they don't tell me these longer term plans.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so while we have Alex here, let's talk a little bit about Paizo organized play. Alex, do you want to give a quick elevator pitch, and then maybe some questions will come out of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I can do that. I apologize that I don't have a fun, shiny presentation prepared for you like Cosmo does, so you'll just have to look at my face for a minute. But yes, my name's Alex. I'm the organized play coordinator for Paizo. Some of you may have met Tanya Wooldridge, who is the organized play manager before me. She's now the director of community, and I'm sort of filling some of her shoes. Paizo organized play is there are organized play campaigns like other companies have, and essentially what they are, we have Pathfinder Society and Starfinder Society, but they're both under the organized play umbrella. And what they are, every month we release 1 to 2, sometimes maybe 3 adventures for each line that continue an ongoing story. But players are able to take their characters from a table to any other Pathfinder or Starfinder Society table in the world. So you can play at your local game store, then take your character to Gen Con, then come back to the local game store and have earned experience and achievements and all those sorts of things upon leveling up. So every month, like I said, we release a couple of scenarios. Each year, we have an ongoing meta plot. So we have kind of a long story that we're telling, but we also release some stories that are divorced from that meta plot, or just kind of nice standalone stories as well. So this year, sort of in the next quarter, at the end of May at PaizoCon, we'll be launching year 5 of Starfinder Society. We have not announced the title yet, but stay tuned soon. I don't know what I'm allowed to share in these meetings yet, so that's why I'm not telling you yet. But we'll be starting that then, and then the next Pathfinder Society year starts at Gen Con. The benefits to retailers, especially as we're sort of transitioning back into physical play after 2 years of pretty exclusively online play. If retailers are looking for a way to draw people into their stores regularly, to ensure that they're in there on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly basis, getting in there, buying food, buying books or minis or whatever, is to run these kind of Starfinder and Pathfinder Society games, because people are going to show up week after week to play the new content, to play some of the old content they've missed the past couple of years. It's a really well-supported program. We've got the monthly releases. We've got a really great network of nearly 800 volunteers worldwide that are coordinating these games for us, and so we work with them to put on those games. We also work with a number of the store retailers if you've got an employee who wants to run the games as well for you. So it's a really great way to get people into the store regularly, into there checking out the new displays. And I'm really excited about the couple of new stories that are going to come up. There's some really cool stuff that I'm not even allowed to talk about yet, but we have some very exciting storylines that players are going to be really excited about. So that's kind of the elevator pitch of what is organized play. I will happily answer people's questions, but I really do think it's a great way for retailers, especially now with the transitioning back into physical play. We're starting to see those players return from online. So it's a really great time, especially if you're a newer store, to kind of get people in the doors there.
And are there any specific requirements that stores have to have in place or do in order to get Paizo's, the Starfinder or Pathfinder Society into their store?
No, not in particular. All you've got to do is have a place where, 4 or 5 people can sit down and play our games. Obviously, it's great if our products are on your shelf so people can go buy them, but it's not a requirement. You just have to get in touch with us. We're able to grant the scenarios to store accounts automatically if you have an account on Paizo.com, or if you've got a volunteer in there who's running the games for you, then we grant the scenarios to them automatically. But otherwise, you just have to say, hey, we're interested. You can email me at organizedplay@paizo.com, and I will happily put you in touch with the volunteer coordinators in your area who can sort of help you get set up.
Okay, so the first step for a store to get involved in Pathfinder Society or Starfinder Society is to go ahead and email organizedplay@paizo.com.
Yep, that's the best way to get in touch with us, yeah. And if a retailer is also already in touch with us directly, they can also say, hey, can you put me in touch with Organized Play, and Cosmo will point them my way.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for your time. We're up against the clock here, and I really appreciate the team from Kobold Press, Kim and Alex from Kobold Press as well. I want to thank you for being here, and I will turn on my camera too so I can join the party. And then hopefully we'll be able to make this a regular event, get it a little more smooth in terms of getting everybody on board, and we'll go from there.
Yes, thank you very much for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
It was nice to meet everybody.
All right, everybody have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.